Hey everybody, World's Biggest Geek here. My name is Kevin. Back with another review here today, and I just finished the season finale of Invincible Season 4. And my goodness gracious, guys, I think Season 4 was the most wildest season of all time. It was insane. It was cuckoo. It was crazy. I was like this was truly the most best show I think I've ever watched so far. It was outstandingly crazy. Like watching this season, I was like, wow, like all the details, the story, I'm like, it really just knocked it out of the park, guys. It really did the greatest job of honoring one of the most incredible Invincible comic series. But my gosh, guys, 100 out of 100, truly the best. I think I have never seen such an incredible show, and it just truly took me by surprise. And I just say, guys, it was more extraordinary, incredible, outstanding, great job, great story. Season 4 was just, I think, the best, and it was truly extraordinary. So, further ado, let's get into it. So, of course, season 4 picks up after season 3 when Mark's variants or doppelgangers came to Earth, and everyone was afraid of Invincible because of what he did. But Engstrom did all that, and doing all these things, and of course. Conquest comes down to confront him, to honor the Viltrum Empire's laws. And of course, Eve and Mark did the best, but Eve beat the mess out of Conquest. And now, because of what they did was to contain him in this facility. But now moving to season 4, as Mark was traumatized because losing Eve to Conquest was truly the most brutal life that he had. And of course, everyone was fearing him because of all the things he did to the city. Everyone, all the heroes and everything. Of course, the first season opens up where there's a lot of heroes who died and villains on the rise. So further ado, as season 1 kicks off, one of the astronauts had one of the little synthenoids that attach to you like this. And that astronaut was hiding under the sewers. And it turns out that I guess one of them must have survived, and the little synthenoids were like reproducing, making more and more. And then all of a sudden, boom, they destroy the city. So Cecil has all these creatures contained. And now, the astronaut, we are free. If you bond with us, we're doing everything we can, our powers, to protect this world and do everything we can. So, so the Guardians come in, the Synthenoids are trying to break, the shield, the dome is trying to hold, but mostly it's trying not to. So they try to free the people, get them back to the area to free the people that were connected to these things. And all of a sudden, they did their best. Robot, broke a rule to go down to the sewers, and there were more people down there, and they tried their best to get everyone out. But then Mark, when he had the astronaut in his hands, he's like, Mark, was, they were, Bulletproof was flying towards him, but then Mark made that choice and killed the astronaut. But luckily, no one was around to see that. But people, Mark was like, "Oh, I killed him." And then there was this this dinosaur being who turned into a human and a dinosaur. And Mark said he told Eve he was going to do the same thing. He was going to do it to the guy. But then because Mark did it to the astronaut, he's like, Mark doesn't know who he is. People, oh, you're not your father. Don't think like you're your dad, because your dad was different. He wiped out people. He killed them. You're not your father. Stop thinking like your father. So Mark is doing all these things. He's like, am I going to become like him? Am I going to do all this? But then we get a backstory on Viltrum, where this asteroid comes out of nowhere, and it just suddenly just starts spreading. So Nolan was a teacher. His parents come to fight him, and his mom's like, "Oh, you're weak, he needs to learn more. But then one of the commanders was like, one of the people like, like, what's wrong with you? Did your parents hit you? Like, no, sir, my parents didn't hit me. But his nose was bleeding. But then also the alarm goes off, and now they're like, oh, what's going on? Viltrumites are flying, but they're falling down the ground, and they have no idea what's going on. So now, then you hear the Grand Region is like, oh, quarantine the sick, but, make sure they're, block the planet so no one comes to find us. But as the process is going, it's like, they're like, the blood is coming from their eyes, their nose, their mouth, they're coughing. And there were these other aliens who were on this planet. They were banging the door. They were getting killed. Like the Viltrumites were still sick, but they would kill the ones who weren't Viltrumites. And then you hear that this has a name called the Scourge virus. And it wiped out billions and billions of all of them. So now oh my gosh, like, now they use their Viltrum dead bodies to surround the planet as like a little circle to honor those who they remember. But now okay, wow, this was, who could have done some of this, but they had something called the Betrayer. And Nolan meets Thrag, who unquotably was the betrayer. He's like, I have something to show you. He's like, my greatest sin was creating this virus. And he's like, oh, do you know the cost you caused? You caused billions of lives. You caused everyone to die. He's like, look, I think about, taking my own life for what I did. But if you want to take my life, please do. So Thrag, was responsible for building this virus because he knew that, one, the Viltrumites were not right. And two, they overconquered and they were too powerful to stop. So now the Viltrumites had all these things to destroy and get rid of them, finally extinguish them for once and for all. But now as we get more deeper, now Nolan comes back to Earth, and with Alan, he's like, Mark, we need your help. We need you because, the Viltrumites are coming. We need to stop them once and for all. So, Debbie's like, oh, don't you dare hurt my sons. I still haven't forgiven you for what you did, because when he fought on the mountain, Debbie heard that. He's like, oh, I don't care about your mom. I never cared about her. I just wanted to, have a child so that we can breed our race and make them what we want. So Debbie punched him. She broke his hand. But then, now Oliver was joining the resistance along with Tech Jacket, Battle Beast, Alan, and they all came to work together to, stop them. So Nolan's like, the Redpar were, these big, gigantic red monsters that were easily can take on the Viltrumites. And, there was this little bug that had a little virus in there that would kill them. And, so they had to do all this to get prepared. So Oliver, Mark, they leave Earth, and now they're on their way to meet Thrag and the coalition. And now you learn that, okay, now they have to work together to stop these beings. They know, like, man, the Viltrumites are everywhere. And then we get our first look at Thrag when Conquest returns. He's like, no, you're not used to being, you're not a quitter. You're going to be with me because this is our time to shine and rise as we need to be, because the Viltrum Empire will rise. So, of course, they had all these planets on, control. But when the coalition, the rebellion was built, they started taking, plan after plan that the Viltrumites were on. They stopped them, and they finally took on everything that the Viltrum Empire was building, and to stop them. And then, Thrag is, like, how are they doing this? What have they done to stop us? We are honoring our kin. And now, we also learned a backstory to Viltrum when, okay, so in the beginning, Viltrum was a very big, strong empire. And Emperor Argol was in charge. So Thrag was like his right-hand man. And, so Thetis is like, look, we're a very powerful empire. We're hurting people. We're tormenting them. They don't need to, we can't do that. So Emperor Argol is like, no, we do as we proceed. And then, Emperor Argo is like, well, to Thrag, he's like, well, if you think Thetis is weak, then take him away from the Empire. So as Emperor Argo entered his office, Thetis was on top of the roof and assassinated him. That's why they call Thrag the betrayer, because he assassinated the emperor. So now when they have a funeral, Thrag looks at one of the Viltrums like, are you ever going to betray us? Are you going to do something behind our back? He said no, but then just killed him. They said, seek out the weak, find anyone. So there was a purge of killing other Viltrumites who were weakened. They killed them, they hurt them, they eliminated them, because they knew that if there was a sign of weakness, everyone would, Viltrum would fall. So that's why they had to kill the weak. And this is before the virus and all that, but the purge was to, get rid of the weak and stop them. And now okay, now they lost their race through the purge, through the virus. That's why their bodies are hanging on the planet, as like to honor the kin and honor the fallen. And all this, now you're like, wow, this is truly insane. But now, as we go to, Thrag is like, so they enter the planet that Thrag was on, and Alan, and the Viltrumites come in and just like wipe them. But one of the people that was in the control room, the computer, pushed a button to take down the planet's defenses so the Viltrumites can come and destroy that planet that the betrayer was on. And then you realize like, Alan's girlfriend is like, oh, we got source that it came from the control room. So the first guy they see, they grabbed him like, oh, why'd you do that? Why'd you do that? He's like, I didn't do it, I swear. But then the other one who was crawling out the rubble, he shot his friend. He's like, why did you betray why did you betray us? He's like, well, the Viltrum Empire, they told me they would give me what I want and blah, blah, blah. So they just killed him. And so like, wow. So now you know that one betrayed this entire race, that these innocent aliens didn't do nothing. It's under construction. And now like, Thetis is like, we have to go to Viltrum to end this once and for all. And now as we go to Viltrum, we now see that, okay, now they go to Viltrum and they're waiting. And even the alive Viltrumites were hiding into the dead Viltrumites. And now the fight is going on. They're fighting on the planet. So Thrag confronts Nolan. He's like, look, Nolan, come home. I will give you forgiveness. I will give you redemption. Help us rebuild our home. He's like, look, our home is destroyed. It's a wasteland. It's garbage. There's nothing we can do. And then, like I said, Thetis, oh my gosh, I think was the craziest. When Mark punched him, you saw his skeleton. And it showed you that Thrag does not need to be underestimated. But oh my goodness, they fought. Battle Beast thought he had his chance, but threw him out of the planet. Space Ranger had his gun, which was able to eliminate half of the Viltrumites. But then Thetis, Nolan, and Mark, all three of them went down together with Space Ranger to fire up. As they fired up into the planet exploded. And you're like, oh my gosh, Viltrum is gone. Like, everything is destroyed. It's rubble. It's crumbled. Everything. And, Thetis is like, Viltrumites, your world is destroyed. Surrender is your only option. And all of a sudden, Thrag, with tears coming out of his eyes in space, force right in front of him, takes Thetis, boom. And I was like, oh my gosh. And now you're like, oh my gosh, Thetis is dead. Yeah, he was the betrayer and the Viltrumites, but he holds Thetis' head like, you have been avenged, my emperor, and squishes it. And you're like, dang, like, it was the most brutalist thing of all time. But all this stuff, like, wow. And then, so there was a little backstory to Damien, who is a detective in the underworld, and Volcanica, she was an awesome, incredible villain, and she wanted to raise the underworld beings. And, Damien's like, hey, look, you think, your stories about the underworld is bad, but we're not bad. Without him, none of this would be possible. But then that the leader of the underworld is like, Damien, Volcanica is returning. She's coming back to the surface. Figure out what the surface dwellers are doing. Why are they doing it to us? What have they, what is causing Volcanica to return? But my goodness, guys, season 4 was incredible. It was outstanding. It was mind-blowing. And also, the Viltrumites are on Earth. Thetis is like, if you try to fight me, we will destroy everyone you love. But if you resist, we will not be seen. We will not be heard. We will wear your clothes. We'll eat your food. We'll live in your environment. But if you resist and do anything to us, we will come after you and we will take everyone you love. So Mark is like, and he throws that fist. He's like, fine. It's like, you will never hear from me, and you might be our savior because you will help us rebuild our population to know that we are going to do what's right to continue the Viltrum Empire and just, honor what is ours and do what we need to. But guys, oh my gosh, season 4 was incredible. Now I'm ready for season 5 to see, will this occurrence, are the Viltrumites going to continue to rebuild their population? Is everything going to change for Mark and Eve? And sadly, Eve had an abortion because she was pregnant. But in the comics, Mark and Eve do have a child, a baby girl. So, but Mark was so hurt that, that he wasn't there for Eve to comfort her, that she was pregnant. Oliver is on the planet with Alan, and Debbie and Nolan are on their way to see Oliver be in medical and recoverment. But guys, it was crazy. It was fun. I'm ready to see more of season 4. Best outstanding show of all time. Truly the greatest. I give it 100 out of 100. And it will always be the greatest superhero show of all times. Well, that does it, everyone. Happy Wednesday to you guys. I hope you guys get to check out this show as I did. It was the best. Like I said, I think I could watch season 4 again. It was crazy, awesome. Thetis was the best character in this show. Everyone together. Hopefully, maybe Debbie and Nolan may come back. And like I said, it might take some time. But overall, it was the best. It was crazy. And I loved it, guys. Well, I'll talk to you guys later. Be awesome. Be safe. And I'll see you guys later. All is ours. Bye, everyone.